Good morning. How are we doing this morning? Did you guys notice the Moroccan mint that was coming in the lobby? If you didn't already, there's actual Moroccan mint tea out in the lobby that Amanda, if you remember the last couple of weeks she's been leading here, she's actually been leading worship maybe over a year and a half throughout the year. She's going to be going on a missions trip, long-term trip to Morocco. She's been there before. She's going back again, just hearing the call of God on her life, and she's out sharing a little bit more about that. In a couple of weeks, she'll be in service, sharing a little more in depth to you what she'll be doing and allowing you an opportunity to pray for her, connect with her, support her however you feel called to. But today we get to enjoy some Moroccan mint tea. And as I drink this, I want to invite Shelly Warnock to come on up. It's really sweet, too. So if you like sweet stuff and sugar, you're going to want that in the back. If you're getting tired in the middle of service, just go get some Moroccan mint tea and come on back. We have some things that we want to just let you be aware of. Shelly Warnock is from our board. Someone say hi, Shelly. Oh, man, I'm so glad for you, Shelly.
Oh.
You're the best. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. She works with our youth in so many different ways and on our board. And so I'm just glad Shelly gets to come up and be next to me here. So you have an announcement?
Way too sweet, yeah. Speaking of sweet things, right? Okay, so I have a joke for you. I raised 4 boys and a girl, but, they loved pie, of course, and one loved pie more than the others, and this was his favorite joke. When you get to heaven, if you have a choice between regular heaven and pie heaven, choose pie heaven. Boy. So that's my introduction, because next week we're having our annual business meeting called a society meeting, and we want everyone to bring their favorite pie. And it can be store-bought, it can be one that you make yourself, and we're just going to feast on pie. And
what's your favorite pie?
I love them all except mincemeat. But banana is probably, banana
We were talking
pie.
about banana cream pie today.
Yep, it's a good one. So that's next week. Following the service, we'll be in the gym where we can spread out. And it's important to come, especially if you're a member, because we want to elect our delegates that represent us at our annual conference. We want to elect new board members, a treasurer. Just, come, be a part of it. And I know Caleb's going to talk about some immediate things happening in the future, near future.
That's right.
So that's all.
Okay, thanks, Shelly. Someone give her a hand. That list of nominations for those leaders will be in the cafe. So as you go, you can grab one on your way out. And if you didn't get that in our email, you can subscribe to our email that we send out every week. Some announcements and some prayer requests. You can do that at salemfirst.com. Subscribe. And if you don't already follow us on social media, make sure to do that. On Facebook, follow and like us. On Instagram, YouTube. We try to stream to both Facebook and YouTube on our Sunday services. So I just want to invite you to follow us there if you haven't already. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you, because you have been giving faithfully over the last couple of years. And I'm just so thankful that your faith and your trust in God and your finances has been something that's been so consistent, and that's been able to continue the ministry that we get to do here on this corner of 45th and Silverton Road, where we get to serve families every month. We get to come on Sunday, and we get to just come before God in such a nice, heated building. Isn't that nice? Just thank you so much for being faithful to God in that. And so would you stand with me as we respond to God through prayer, or through music, through His Word. Alyssa Davis is here to lead us in worship music today. So let me open us up in a word of prayer. God, we're thankful that you are who sustains us. God, there's going to be times in our life that go up and some times in our life that go down. And right now, we're just thankful that you are with us in this moment. God, help us to hear your voice. Help us to listen to your word. Help us to respond to you accordingly. Thank you, God, for being faithful to us. We pray these things in your name, Jesus. Amen.
justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you. Oh, so come move. Let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you. King of all generations, let every tongue and nation surrender all to you alone. Sing that again. King of all generations. King of all generations, let every tongue and nation surrender all to you alone, to you alone. Oh, so come move. Let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you. Oh, so come move. Let justice roll on like a river. Let worship turn into revival. Lord, lead us back to you. Jesus, Jesus, precious Lord, none on the earth or heavens above that I have found more beautiful. You are my treasure, my great reward. I just want to move your heart. It's all I want to do. I just want to stand in awe and pour my love on you, no matter how much the cost. I freely give it all to you. Jesus, Jesus, my offering, all my ambitions, my hopes, my dreams. And here's my life, Lord, a sacrifice, oh, just to bless you. And I just want to move your heart. It's all I want to do. I just want to stand in awe and pour my love on you, no matter how much the cost. I freely give it all to you, all to you. I just want to move. I just want to move your heart. It's all I want to do. I just want to stand in awe and pour my love on you, no matter how much the cost. I freely give it all to you, all to you. Is it a fragrance? Then I'll pour my oil out. Is it a life laid down? Then it's here I give my vow. Is it a song I sing? Then here's every melody. Tell me what moves you. Just tell me what moves you. Is it a fragrance? Is it a fragrance? Then I'll pour laid down. Then here I give my vow. Is it a song I sing? Then here's every melody. Just tell me what moves you. Tell me what moves you, Lord. Just tell me what moves you. Tell me what moves you. I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. A man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Then you came along and put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Let's sing, there's nothing. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley, and there's not a place that your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing. Nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into
Alyssa and praise team. I was sitting at the table with my kids this week, and they're asking me this question: what's 500,633 times 825? And I had to look at them and confess, I don't know. But Dad, you said you know everything. I had to confess, I didn't know, but I knew how to get the answer. Which isn't the same thing, but I knew how to get the answer. If I had a calculator or maybe a real long, big piece of paper that I could write all the math out and, it'd take me a while, but I would eventually get the right answer. And there's probably been some times where we've thought we've had all the answers before, and then someone asks you a question, or you get to a moment in life that you did not have an answer for. You weren't too sure what to say. Especially as Christians sometimes, maybe it's an expectation the world has on us, or maybe it's something that you put on yourself, that you have to know what to do in life. You have to have the right answer. Because, we do have the Bible, right? We have this thing that gives us all the answers, right? Well, I was reading this book about the Desert Fathers, and this one father in the 3rd century was asking all his pupils and all his people that he was teaching, his apprentices. And he said, interpret this passage. And the first one interprets it, and he's like, no, that's wrong. So the next one interprets it, he's like, no, that's wrong. And he kept going, wrong, 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 wrong. Until it got to the last person. And just imagine, if you're the last person to say something, usually you're the one that no one expects you to have the right answer. The first person that talks is probably the one with the confidence. They think they have the answer. They think they know what's right. But the last person ends up saying, I don't know. And the father said, you're right. That's the right answer. We don't always have the right answer. It's okay to say things like, I don't know. And today, Jesus is in a place where he's faced against something that anyone who were to face it would be an impossible situation. And to say, I don't know, is okay. In fact, he gives us a way to think and to process so that we can get through those moments, those gray areas of life. Because I think for many of us, there's probably been some moments in your life where you had to find out the answer the hard way, or maybe you didn't quite know what was right, what was wrong, because it's just, life is great. You never thought you would find yourself maybe in a position in your life at some point. And there's plenty of people here that have probably gone through different experiences. But for many of you, maybe you never thought you would have to say the word divorce in your lifetime, and it be so personal. Or maybe as a family member, you never thought you'd have to experience or say the word bankrupt in your life. You never thought you'd have to say, you never have to discover or parent through a child that you had eventually to bury before yourself. You never thought you would have to bury a child before your own death. There's parts of your life that you never expect, and it just kind of happens, and it's kind of gray, and you're not too sure because you never thought you would get there. You never thought you'd have a child who would end up walking away from the faith. Or maybe a best friend who ends up coming out as gay or trans. How do you move through those kinds of questions in your life? Well, today we're going to talk about how Jesus moves through those areas. And before we get there, I want to share with you a psalm. This is in Psalms 115, 1 through 11, verses 1 through 11. And in this psalm, I'm sharing this psalm because this is the psalm that you find the disciples of Jesus singing. This is probably one of the songs after their meal with Jesus, called the Last Supper. Jewish tradition and Jewish culture, they would have these songs that they would sing to be part of their history and their culture, and this is the one that would be sung after the Last Supper. Once Jesus had this last moment of communion, if you were here last week, we practiced communion as a whole church body. This is the moment where Jesus would get up from the table and they'd start singing a song, and this would be This is what some of the scholars believe one of the songs they would choose from. It's in Psalms 115. I just want you to listen to this because this is really interesting. Jesus had just finished saying to his disciples, hey, I'm going to be betrayed. I'm going to die soon. And then they get up, and all of a sudden they start, perhaps this song in Psalms 115. It starts in verse 1. It says, not to us, O Lord, not to us, but to your name give glory, for the sake of your steadfast love and your faithfulness. Why should the nations say, where is their God? Now, Israel, this is the people of Israel, this is their song about their God, and they're saying there's a bunch of countries and people around them that have other gods. And they're saying, why would anyone say about our God that, where is he? Because look at this is what they tell us about their God, their experience. In verse 3, our God is in the heavens. He does whatever he pleases. Their idols, talking about these other nations and their gods, are silver and gold, the work of human hands. They have mouths, but do not speak, eyes, but do not see. They have ears, but do not hear, noses, but do not smell. Are you getting a little bit of a repetition here? They have hands, but do not feel, feet, but do not walk. They make no sounds in their throats. Those who make them are like them, so are all who trust in them. O Israel, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. And the author here goes a little bit more nuanced. He's saying tribe. He's saying, O house of Aaron, O tribe of Aaron, O people of Aaron, which is just a clan of people. Trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. And then the author goes even more personal. You who fear the Lord, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. So this song is being sung or recited by Jesus and his disciples in this moment. And it's interesting how there's this comparison of these other gods. And then there's this, hey, look what those gods can't do. And look what our God has done. The whole meal was about going from slavery to freedom. It's almost just a reminder. It's like, hey, slavery, these idols that these other gods are worshiping, they're not alive. They're not things that can breathe and have authority. Like, check out our God. He's who you can trust in. And it's interesting because once this happens, we find Jesus in the garden, and we see him practicing what this trust looks like. How do you move through those times of your life that you really had no idea you would be experiencing and still trust in God? So if you're following along in the book of Mark as we go all the way to Easter, we're in chapter 14. And these last couple chapters are just the last couple days of Jesus' life. And they're really just focusing on those because it's important for the author to know how these last couple days ended up. And today, I think, is probably the most critical moment in Jesus' whole ministry. And that's just my personal opinion. You could read the scriptures and kind of find out yourself what's the critical part of his ministry. But this is, to me, one of the most critical parts of his ministry. So we get to zoom in on Jesus' last little night time with his disciples. It says this, in verse 26, chapter 14, when they had sung the hymn, which is what I just shared with you, that Psalms 115. Now, there's a couple different psalms that they could have chosen. This one is just one that kind of helps share a little what the feel of the night is. They went out to the Mount of Olives. So follow along as I read through this. They went out to the Mount of Olives, and Jesus said to them, "You will all become deserters. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered." Jesus is just referring to himself as a shepherd and his followers as the sheep. It's not an uncommon metaphor he would use in his teachings. He says, "But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee." So after I am raised up from death, I'll go before you. Peter said to him, "Even though all become deserters, I will not." Jesus said to him, "Truly I tell you, this day, this very night," it's almost like a triple trifecta. Truly, this day, even this, it's like, I'm emphasizing this. Jesus said to them, "Or you will deny me 3 times. But Peter said, vehemently, almost kind of like matching Jesus' emphasis, like, abundantly in his own emotion, trying to match the truly, the this day, this night with his own response. He says vehemently, even though I must die with you, this is Peter, I will not deny you. And all of them said the same. Jesus is preparing them for what they're about to go through. We talked a little bit last week about this moment where he said, someone's going to betray me. Someone's going to betray me here. I just want you guys to be prepared. And then throughout the last couple times in his ministry, he would say, I was going to die, and this is what you're going to experience, this is what's going to go on. But not only does he prepare his disciples, Jesus prepares himself for what he's about to go through. We see how Jesus is going to prepare himself what he's about to go through. Wouldn't you like to be prepared for all the moments of your life? I mean, wouldn't that be nice? Like, no matter what it is, like, you would be prepared for it. Wouldn't that be nice to kind of have a posture or a mindset or even an answer no matter what comes to you? But you can't know all the answers. I mean, my kids found me out at an early age. Dad doesn't know all the answers. He can't even answer this simple math question. You don't have all the answers. That's just, you're not Google. You're not, a search engine. Life is too gray. And you've experienced too much of life to know that there's some things that you just can't be prepared for when it comes to an answer. But there is a way to move through everything you encounter. There is a way to move through all of those things that you're going to experience in life. Prayer moves you through. Prayer, no matter what, this is like a thing that no one can take away from you. Prayer can move you through. And through what? Like, what do you mean by through? Through what? Well, in Psalms, we see, some of you have probably heard of Psalms 23. David talks about, moving through what? He talks about, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. He's saying, even though all these things that are hard are going on, it's like, you're with me. Sometimes it takes people to remind us, or maybe, it takes us to mentally have to understand that. But in a moment, we're going to see Jesus head in his valley and how he handles it. How does he handle the valley he's going through? Here's what he's preparing for. So here's what he's preparing for. This is what Jesus already talked to us about. He talks about betrayal. Someone among his 12 disciples was going to betray him. Then in this text, it talks about their deserting. There's going to be abandonment. There's going to be denial. Peter, his closest friend, his closest follower, is going to deny him. So he's preparing him. This is some of the stuff Jesus is preparing himself for. He's about to go through this. So how does he prepare himself to go through this? Prayer. And it's interesting, sometimes we think, we've got to worry about these outsiders hurting us. If you look at this, Jesus is preparing himself in this moment for people who are the closest to him, who are going to hurt him the most. Yeah, in just a few hours or days, he's going to get, the nails in the hands, and he's going to get put on a cross physically. But it's the people that were the closest to Jesus that hurt him through betrayal, abandonment, and denial. I believe, if you've been living on this earth long enough, you've probably had people who are really close to you hurt you. Maybe not on purpose. Maybe it was by accident, or maybe it was just maybe it was you that hurt someone because you just said some words out of anger, out of some emotion, and you didn't really mean them, but they kind of just came out, and it really hurt. A lot of times, the people who are the closest to you are the people who hurt you the most. And so I just want us to notice, this is the thing that Jesus is preparing himself through prayer. And this is what he does. It says in verse 32, chapter 14, that they went to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took with him Peter and James and John and began to be distressed and agitated. And it's interesting, that same distressed word is the same word the disciples were when Jesus said, one of you are going to betray me. I think that's interesting. Just the feelings that the disciples had about being called out is the same feeling that Jesus is saying what he's feeling in this moment. Verse 34, he says, and he said to them, meaning Peter, James, and John, I am deeply grieved, even to death. Remain here and keep awake. And going a little farther, Jesus threw himself on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. He said, Abba, Father. It's like a familiar term to a father. Some would translate that as dad, daddy. Like this comfortable, familiar term that Jesus would say up to his Father in heaven. It's like, for you, all things are possible. Remove this cup from me. And a cup would mean the suffering that he's about to go through. So if you know anything about the cross and the pain that would cause Jesus physically, he's saying, remove this suffering from me, but not what I want, but what you want. Verse 37, he says, he came and found them sleeping. Who? Peter, James, and John. He said to Peter, Simon, are you asleep? Could you not keep awake 1 hour? Keep awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. And again, he went away and prayed, saying the same words. Once more, Jesus came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to say to him. What does Jesus do to move through praying through, prayer moves you through? How did Jesus pray so that he can move through this moment of abandonment, denial, betrayal? Like, he uses prayer, but how? These are the things we know. And perhaps you can't relate to these, but perhaps you can relate to some of these other things that maybe are happening in your life or happening those around you. Maybe there's loneliness or depression or addiction or grief loss, like those things that you encounter. Your distress may look a little different, but the way you cope, that's maybe how you deal with them. For Jesus, it looks a little different. Maybe how you deal with some of these, for if you've been looking at the data around 2020 and since then, a lot of people have been dealing with the stress of quarantine and virus stuff and all these things through alcohol. Like the sales of alcohol, the market of alcohol has gone up and up and up. People are drinking more. Like, so people dealing with something stressful has been, for many people around the country, has been through alcohol. Alcohol abuse has gone up. Eating disorders. Eating too much or eating too little is actually a very common way to deal and cope with the challenges of mental health. And actually, I've learned that mental health, through a mental health first aid course, that's the most mortality rate comes out of eating disorders. The highest mortality rate among mental health challenges is eating disorders. Or you can do something kind of what I do. I like to stuff. My mom tells me I'm stuffing too much. Stuffing means I take what I'm feeling, I just put it right in here, kind of like in the rib cage. I think I have a really big space, of stuff that I can put in, but usually it explodes and comes out in unhealthy ways. I was with the kids for a couple hours, and they just kept nagging and nagging and nagging, asking me question after question after question. And instead of dealing with things in a healthy way, all the stuff I was stuffing in here just kind of came out, and I threw these jars into the sink, and they broke. And I was like, what are you doing? Stop talking to me. Have you had one of those moments? I'm like, you feel that too? Okay, so I'm not alone. Good. But my kids were frightened. All that stuff I stuffed in, and it might not have even had to do with anything about raising kids. It might have had to do with, work, relationship with my wife, friends, all these different things, the government, who knows? But it came out and it exploded all over my kids. I think there's a better way to deal with things than alcohol, than overeating, than just throwing stuff out of anger. There's a healthier way, and Jesus teaches that to us. Jesus goes through by praying with friends. He goes through by praying with friends. He picks a few out, doesn't he? He picks 3, Peter, James, and John. Who are you inviting to those places of despair in your life? Even if it's a little or a lot. Like, who are those people besides maybe your spouse? Who would you be able to call and say, hey, I'm going through some hard times, or I'm feeling this, and I need you to be there. And maybe, it's interesting, Jesus never even asked them to answer his questions. He never tells them, hey, this is what I'm going through. I need you to give me a solution. There's none of that. He just says, come join me in my despair. Hold this weight that I'm feeling so that I'm not alone. I mean, in Galatians 6:2, this is how Paul teaches. Paul teaches in Galatians 6:2, bear one another's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. And bear means like weight, like carry the weight. For Jesus, he's like, I can't do this alone. And if Jesus, who's God and also human, can't bear a weight by himself, how can we expect ourselves to go through life bearing it ourselves? Like, that's a terrible expectation of yourself. So if you're feeling like you're feeling bad for asking someone or just ranting to someone, or, I feel so bad, I'm just talking this whole time and I'm just dumping all these problems on you, don't. Jesus does it. He invites people to do it, his closest friends. He doesn't ask for a solution either. He just says, this is a lot to carry. I don't have an answer, but I just need you to be there with me so that I'm not alone. Like, Jesus goes through by prayer with friends. I said this before. Who is your 2 a.m. friend that if you were to have a spleen that bursted, that you could call? Who would that person be for you? Are they nearby? Could they help? We talked about in our worship team, some best friends that God has given us in our life. All my kids are named after either a really close friend or a family member. Jordan, my second child, is named after my best friend, Jordan Sanders. I remember going into his dad's Frito truck because he would fill vending machines. That was his business. And every time I'd go over to sleep over, we'd get the newest and greatest bag of chips. Not on the market yet bag of chips. It was the best. I love Jordan Sanders. I named my son after him. Like, who is your friend that you could invite into those places? And this might be a harder question. Why don't you have a friend that you can invite into those deep despair moments? Because you're going to have one. You're going to have moments where things are hard, you don't have an answer for, and all you need is someone to talk to. All you need is someone to share, hey, this is going on. And it's really hard to find these days. You have to work harder to make friends than you used to. So it's okay if you fail a few times. It's okay if it feels really hard. It might not be because of you. It's just because of our world makes it hard sometimes. What else does Jesus do to go through by praying? Jesus goes through by praying with friends, but also with feelings. Jesus is honest about his feelings. And this is one of those things that maybe Christians aren't so good at, especially, I'll confess, like, I'm not really good about sharing my feelings. It feels kind of like, ugh, feelings, gross. That's just my, kind of like personally, I haven't been taught well how to communicate what I'm feeling. It comes out by breaking glass. It comes out by yelling really loud. It comes out by all these other things. But we want to be healthy Christ followers, and Jesus examples us about his feelings and how he answers or talks to his disciples, I'm feeling deeply grieved, full of sorrow. So I want to give you some questions that I got from Pete Scazzaro, who's written a book called Emotionally Healthy Discipleship, that helps us explore the tip of the iceberg. helps us explore maybe the things that are going on in our life or our body or in our world so that we can come before God in prayer through these different questions. So I just want to give you these questions as maybe a tool that you could use in your time of prayer, or maybe with a close friend, or maybe just a reflective to yourself. This is something you could think about. What are you mad about? What are you mad about? And if you were honest, you would say all sorts of things. Put it down on a piece of paper. Or tell a close friend who's just able to listen. Maybe not give you the answers, but say, what are you mad about? What are you sad about? These aren't revolutionary questions, but they start to dig into what emotions you're feeling. What are you sad about? I asked this question in the small group that I got to lead for Jean Mumal this week. What are you anxious about? What's worrying you? What's keeping you up at night? What's not allowing you to sleep well? What are you anxious about? Anxiety is a huge issue in our culture today. Panic attacks, all these different things that are maybe keeping you from being yourself. What are you anxious about? Do you have someone you can tell? What are you glad about? What things are you glad about? What makes you happy? What are you glad about? Jesus goes through these moments of the darkest valley with his emotions too. He doesn't keep them hidden. He doesn't stuff them. He invites his friends in on them, and he's honest about it. Prayer moves you through. Prayer moves you through with friends and with emotions. And you want to face conflict in a healthy way. Like I think most people want to be healthy, mature adults, and we want to raise our kids, we want to raise our neighborhood to be healthy and mature. So let's see, what is the fruit of this when this happens? Jesus shows us what it could look like when we are with our friends, getting those deep places in our life, and how he uses emotions. This is how it looks when it plays out. This is in verse 42, or 41, I think. It says, he came a third time. Jesus comes to his disciples a third time and said to them, are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Enough. The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand. Did you notice? Don't just focus on the failures of these disciples and them falling asleep. Don't just focus on that, because I want us to focus on how did Jesus move through those hard times. It was by prayer with his friends, with emotions, and yet they weren't perfect. But what comes out of it? He says, here's my betrayer, here's this valley I'm about to go through, and I'm going to go to it. Isn't that interesting? He doesn't avoid the conflict. We'll find out next week, he doesn't fight back the way that they attacked him. He goes into imagine there's conflict and you are in a place that you can not only move through the hard times, but move to those conflicts. Wouldn't that be nice to be able to go, prayer moves you through, but also prayer moves you to those hard places. Wow, that's like a superhuman strength to be able to see something ahead and not be afraid, or be afraid but still move to it. That would be a superhuman strength. If I told someone say, hey, I can give you something that allows no matter what comes, that you can move through it and move to it. Jesus approaches. He's not avoiding, he's not ignoring, he's not stuffing. And we know this is true. This is what's true. Trials are a given, right? You're going to face trials. Hard times are coming. If you aren't already feeling them, they're going to come, tomorrow, next week. Everybody has experienced trials, and you're going to have more in your life. Or maybe a close friend is. Maybe your community is. Maybe your place of work is going to go through a hard time. It's going to happen. But transformation is chosen. What you do with those trials, how you move through with them is a choice. How you handle them is a choice that you can make. So this is what I want to give us as two things to be thinking about. In just a minute, I'm going to invite Dean up here to talk a little bit about how we can move through with prayer, through as a whole body, as a whole church together. But I want to talk about, like, right now, like, how could prayer move you through those moments right now? What are some tools, some ways to be thinking about? And I know many people here probably have some great ways that they come to God in prayer. Maybe it's a devotion time you spend every morning, and you're reading your word, you're reading the Bible, you're spending time journaling. Maybe you're in a small group and you're able to pray in your small group. Like, those are great things. I want you to continue to do them. And if you're not, find something that maybe is going to connect you in prayer. And I want to give you these two things. Airplane mode. There's this thing that wants to keep you from prayer. It's called your phone. Right? You get in moments of silence and quietness, and all of a sudden you want to pull out your phone and you want to check things. And it's just like a habit. Putting your phone on airplane mode, meaning nothing is getting dinged or binged or blooped for you to lose your attention. Having quietness, being away from distraction, is a great way to be able to hear from God. Prayer moves you, and so you've got to be able to not let anything else move you. So the phone is a huge distraction. Airplane mode. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb most of the day. That's why if you ever call me and I know what to answer, it's probably because I didn't even know my phone rang. It's just so that I can get work done during the week. I have different times that I answer and text and respond to things. A lot of us need to just turn off all our notifications on our phone. You want to have a moment of prayer, but CNN and Fox News and, that Uber Eats app is just dinging you all day long, telling you all the discounts and all the news, when you want to just hear from God. Airplane mode. Finding a time that you can just put your phone on airplane mode that's consistent. Routine. Is there a time that you can do every day? Dedicate 5-10 minutes just to prayer. Maybe that's where you need to start. It could be in the car before you go to work. It could be in your bedroom at night with your spouse. I mean, what's something you can do consistently? And this isn't rocket science. But this is the way a lot of the habits and things we see in the Bible of people who are routinely coming to God. Routinely coming to God. What's a routine or thing you can start or think about now? Now, Dean's going to come forward, and he's going to share about what are we going to do as a church to let prayer move us through. Like how, as a church, later, not right now, but in a couple weeks, come on up, Dean, what are some ways we can move through as a church using prayer? And he's going to talk about fasting. So go ahead, Dean.
I think I'm off mute now. Yeah. Oh, about prayer. I want to confess something to you about prayer in my life. My wife and I have been married for 32 years. We're going on 33 now. Up until 2.5 years ago, I haven't been able to pray with my wife. A pastor who can't pray with his wife. And that's because of my issues that I had in my life, my addiction, my secrets, my lies, my hurt, my pain from my sexual abuse as a child, all that stuff. It was just inside me, and I didn't know how to share it with her. And if I pray, I know that prayer is going to bring out the most vulnerable things in my life. And I couldn't tell her about them. I couldn't share them with her. But the last 2.5 years, I've been able to pray with my wife. Now, we try to every morning. We do a devotional. But we do the devotional, and then I lead us in prayer. And that has been the most amazing thing in our marriage. I don't know why I never experienced it before, and I don't know why God didn't lead me to that in the prior times of my life, but he did. And it's something that's really changed our marriage in being able to do that. It can change also our church. We're here as a family. So any of you guys have family members that you haven't seen in a while? I mean, loved ones. Like, I've got a sister that I haven't seen maybe 2 Christmases. About the only time I get to see her is at a Christmas if we get together. I guess she did come this last Christmas. But I have a son, 45 years old, been living on the streets of Salem for 25. Some of you know him and have met him back when Debbie and I were first married and when we attended church here. I haven't seen him in 2 years. I know he's alive because I got a text from him. I know he's alive because I've talked to people that have seen him or come across him. But this is somebody that's like, my son. And I haven't seen him in a long time. You want to know what? There's a lot of people in my family, my church family, I haven't seen in a long time. I know that COVID drove us all home. I know we were sick. I know we were afraid. We were fearful. But we're a body. I'll never forget the first time I came back to church after they let us leave our homes and worshiped here with my family. I couldn't do it at home. I just couldn't. I couldn't worship at home. I know how hard it is. I know that some are still afraid. We have plenty of room. Come back. Join us. Love to see you again. Love to catch up. Part of what Zach Jackson wanted me to share with you again this morning is more on Lent as we come up. And the parts of Lent are fasting, prayer, things like that in preparation for Easter. I just want to share a couple of things that I want you to think about. I've done a lot of fasting in my life, both for health as well as for spiritual. And fasting for health reasons has many benefits. Fasting for spiritual reasons has even more benefits. But most of the time in the Bible, when you connect fasting is alongside of prayer. I know my favorite one is when the disciples go and they try to cast this demon out. And they come back and he's like, we couldn't do it. We don't know why. We couldn't cast. And Jesus says that sometimes that type requires prayer and fasting. So it's two things that are together that we can do in preparation. And I say can because many people think that in preparation for Easter, what they need to do is punish themselves to get things better, get things right, earn God's favor by fasting, by giving something up. And if that's your reason for doing it, don't do it. The idea of the fasting is, I'm going to fast from, I've been praying about it, and God's, sharing me. I'm going to pray and fast from snacks. I am a snacker all day long. I work from home. I've got something in my office there to eat at all times. And one, it's not healthy, but two, it shows a serious lack of self-control, which is one of those things that God tells us is a good thing. And so I know that as I practice that, I'm going to need to do a lot of praying. Because those snacks may not be in my office, but they're just around the corner in the pantry. And you got to walk by that pantry to go here, or you got to walk through the kitchen. My house is situated where my bedroom, my office, and the kitchen's in the center. So I have to walk past it no matter where I go in my house. So I'm going to be doing a lot of praying over the next, once we get to March, over that 42 days. So I want to challenge you, if that is what you feel God is calling you to do, again, pray, search your heart, ask, why am I doing this? Am I trying to earn something for it? Am I trying to be better? Or do you want to grow closer to God? That's the idea of Lent. It's to take the time growing closer in relationship to Christ, in relationship to our Father. And it has nothing to do with me being a better person not eating snacks. anyhow, I want to share that with you. Caleb, oh, no, you just want me to pray and then to dismiss, right? All right. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and close real quick here in prayer, and I just want you to go ahead and stand. We'll pray, and then I'll dismiss us. Father, we thank you. We thank you that you give us instruction on ways that we can follow you. Give us instructions on ways that we can grow closer to you. And one of those is sometimes giving up something in our life that maybe distracts us from you. Something in life that we think about more than we think about you. Lord, as we come to celebrate the gift that you have given us on Easter, help us to draw closer to you, to draw closer in relationship with you. And draw closer as a family. In Christ's name, amen. Go in God's blessing and have a great week.